And now, Donald Trump is in retreat. Remember, back in March, when I called, and he called, we talked about the need to act like we were at war with the virus. He called himself a wartime president. Remember when he exhorted the nation to sacrifice together and, quote, in the face of this inevitable and invisible enemy. What happened? Now it's almost July, and it seems like our wartime president has surrendered, waved the white flag, and left the battlefield. Today we're facing a serious threat, and we have to meet it. We have to meet it as one country. But the president gives no direction, and he pits us against one another. We can't continue like this, half recovering and half getting worse. We can't continue half wearing masks and half rejecting science. We can't continue half with a plan and half just hoping for the best. You know, we won't defeat this virus with a piecemeal approach, lifting restrictions prematurely, increasing the volatility of the crisis, raising the likelihood of needing to reimpose restrictions. You know, until our science catches up to reality, until we have better treatment for those who become infected and ultimately are safe, proven, widely available vaccines, we have to continue to do all we can as the people and the government to keep our fellow Americans safe and healthy. Today, I'm releasing a plan with the steps I believe Donald Trump should undertake immediately to build on the roadmap I released back in March that would have saved lives if it had been adopted. It's a plan to save lives in the months ahead. But once again, I encourage him to adopt this plan in its entirety. This is too important for politics. First, testing, testing, testing. More testing is not only how you find more cases of coronavirus, Mr. President. It's how you stop the coronavirus cases. Testing followed by rigorous contact tracing, quarantine, and isolation protocols for those who've been exposed. People aren't waiting in lines for miles and miles long in baking hot cars for drive-through nasal swabs for the fun of it. They're doing it so they can protect themselves, but even more importantly, they know when they have this mask on, they're protecting others. They're protecting others. Statewide lockdowns that so many Americans lived under for months were intended to buy us time to get our act together. Instead of using that time to prepare ourselves, Donald Trump squandered it. Now here we are, more than 3 months later. We're hardly better prepared than we were in March. Infections are on the rise. The threat of massive spikes that overwhelm the capacity of our healthcare system is on the horizon. Americans, anxious and out of work, are fearful for their lives and their livelihoods. Donald Trump is doing next to nothing about it. Mr. President, the crisis is real. The crisis is real. And it's surging, Mr. President. Your promises and predictions and wishful thinking pulled out of thin air are not only doing the country no good, but making them lose even more faith in their government. America knows this crisis isn't behind us, even if you don't. They see what's happening, even if you refuse to, Mr. President. They know we need a coordinated national plan. We need it now, even though you don't, Mr. President, and won't do it. You called yourself a cheerleader. We don't need a cheerleader, Mr. President. We need a president, Mr. President. A president who will level with the American people. A president who will tell us the unvarnished truth. A president who will take responsibility instead of always blaming others. A president will listen to the experts, follow the science, allow them to speak. The president will lead, be an example for the nation. Wear a mask, keep your distance, limit the size of crowds. Mr. President, this is not about you. It's about the health and well-being of the American public. American people don't make enormous sacrifices over the past 4 months so they could just waste their time. And you could waste all the efforts they have undertaken with your midnight rantings and tweets. They don't make these sacrifices. You could ignore the science and turn responsible steps like wearing masks into a political statement. And they certainly didn't do it, Mr. President, so you could wash your hands and walk away from this responsibility. Maybe there are times this nation needs a cheerleader. Now is not one of them. America needs a president. Whatever Trump does or does not do, we can't know today what the state of the COVID-19 pandemic will be next January.